Bernie, how are you? Welcome to and congratulations to the CGA's Rising Stars. Um,
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. It's exciting, very exciting to have you. And I suppose, firstly, just to ask you how it all started, how it all began, what your interest in acting and music.
Yeah, okay. I think just ever since I was young, I'd always had creativity as part of my life. I grew up very, very active, both physically and mentally. I was very vivid imagination and writing stories and whatnot. So creativity was just a very inherent part of my personality. But also it came from my culture. The Philippines is so camp and so like entertainer based that it just became an integral part of my human being, my essence. So combine that with being extremely stubborn. I got my sights set on being a creative. I wanted to do both music and acting. And I'm really proud to say that today I kept that promise to my little self, and that stubbornness really shone through as ambition and dedication.
And anyone in your family performs or sings?
Absolutely not. But I will say a really beautiful thing. My late grandmother, when she got really, really old and was sort of on her way to passing, her mind, I think she was showing like signs of maybe dementia or Alzheimer's. And I think the most beautiful and blessed experience I got from that was she sang all the way to the afterlife. Like we didn't have any like tragic episodes with her. Of course, like it was a bit hard sometimes when her memory would go, but and she'd forget us or confuse us, but she sang all the time.
Wow.
So part of me wonders if maybe that's where it came from. I think with immigrant mentality, there's this need to survive and push like education and being educated and getting an educated job. And I put all that in inverted commas. There's such a push for that because they see that that's where the survival is, that's where the money is. But I know that my people, my ancestors, all of us carried music and dance and storytelling throughout their bloodline way before colonial era. So it just comforts me a little bit to know that's just part of me, and that always will be part of me.
And did you always feel like that, or did you feel like you were trying to hide your culture as a younger girl, or did you go to a school where it was multicultural, or had things changed?
Um, I grew up in a not so much multicultural town, although there was a very strong Indigenous identity attached to the land, which was really beautiful. But it wasn't like, I think I was just lucky to have one teacher at my school that really wanted to bring that deadly group out and bring forth a sense of pride in your identity. And even though I wasn't First Nations, she resonated a lot with me and I resonated a lot with her. And I think that cultural overlap really spoke to each other. So in places where I was allowed to be involved, she got me involved. And a lot of that was creative stuff, like supporting with the ceremonies and whatnot.
So from school and from that whole beginning, what started first, the music or the acting?
They all came hand in hand, truly. I was lucky enough to grow up, late 90s, early 2000s, where a lot of um, a lot of artists were doing both. You had your Beyoncés, you had all of the like rappers and stuff getting into film and music. We had Michael Jackson, who was like hugely influenced by the film world, but obviously was like the king of pop. And dance came into that as well. So they went hand in hand always. And I was very determined to make sure both went hand in hand. So all through my primary school to high school, I took up subjects, if I could help it, that fed that. need.
Oh, now, I mean, obviously you've done a couple of jobs that I've been casting, which is obviously Class of '07 and recently Swift Street. Tell me what you loved about doing those and what you're choosing when you're choosing and reading for roles, why you pick and choose them, what resonates.
Firstly, I'm grateful for both of those roles that I got in Class of '07, which we know is like a very big project. It was Amazon. It was one of my biggest ones that I ever got to be a part of. Huge ensemble cast. And then Erotic Stories, which is SBS and less funded, but still a huge production in itself. What I loved about Class of '07 was, I was constantly learning things that were my fundamental basics, but on a bigger scale. And it also gave me an insight to how broad I can go with my range as an actor. One of the things that got me on board with it, because I was up for a few things during that time, and it felt like a bit of a tug of war, which sounds like a very humble brag, but I was up for A Beginner's Guide to Grief. I'd actually been cast in that role. And then I was in the mix-ish for Heartbreak High. And, when I did the read and the callback and everything for Class of '07, the writer and director, Casey Anning, was like, Bernie, you have every opportunity to do drama, but good quality comedy comes once in a blue moon. And that just stuck with me. I was like, you know what? You're right. I have done quite a bit of drama and chip on the shoulder kind of energy. And if I want to grow as an artist and I want to see how far I can push myself, why not go step outside of my comfort zone and do something that I'm a little bit unfamiliar with? So that was great, being able to go into a comedy role and exercise those chops. It was really fun. And when you have great writing, it's easy.
Yeah.
And then with Erotic Stories, gosh, firstly, I just love the concept of taking a demographic of people that you never see desirable on screen and making that the whole concept. It feels good to be a person of color and be seen as desirable, or my co-stars to be seen as desirable, when maybe their whole life they've grown up feeling a little bit like ick about themselves because of, say, European beauty standards or unfortunate circumstances of bullying, and it's really great having a full First Nations cast in one particular episode. That's beautiful. And there's just all sorts of sexual identities, gender identities. And what's beautiful about Erotic Stories is it doesn't outwardly make that the whole personality of the episodes that come forth. It just so happens to be that these are the stories that are authentically being told. So to be cast in that means a lot. And to be able to portray what I'm portraying means a lot. And it really pushed boundaries, I feel.
Great.
And that's what I want to be part of.
Great. And Swiss Street, what's the role in Swiss Street you're having? And that was great.
My gosh. I love Swift Street. Firstly, shout out to Tig, and shout out to the rest of the cast and the crew that have made this possible. Swiss Street, I play the role of Aisha, or Aisha, whichever way you want to pronounce it. She's definitely someone who is pitched as the love interest to the main character, played by Tamsin Crawford, who, by the way, is extremely talented. But you see that and you go, okay, cool. But then you see there's a whole other world that's attached to Aisha, separate from, serving the main character. And I think that's a true testament to Tig's writing, that he really cares about the people that he's casting and also cares about the people he's portraying. So what blew my mind as well is it was my first ever time walking into a casting room and seeing all of the pictures of the people that were acting in it, and having to squint and almost cry a little, because I've never seen that many Black and people of color across a board, across a whole entire board.
Yeah, I know.
And all of us.
I don't think there's,
you know,
one white person in the show. I don't think.
Literally. And again, like, it's just because that's the world that Tig is a part of. That's his community. That's his people. He's writing for that. And as someone who does something similar with their music, I'm all about it. It's not about separating ourselves from each other, and it's not about creating this tension or this who's better race. No, it's really truly just about having a voice, being able to put our stories forward that aren't actually too different from everyone else's, really.
No. And reflecting the world. That's reflecting.
You're reflecting.
Yeah, the world.
Exactly.
Bernie, what's next?
Lots and lots of voiceovers. Oh my gosh. I'm everywhere with that. And then I'm also pre-production currently for my next music video, which will be my directorial debut as well. So I'm branching out into new waters, and if I like it, I might explore some more. But I've always had a big passion for music videos, so it'll be interesting directing my own.
Yeah. Well, I suppose then you control the look, the feel, everything you want.
Yeah. I mean, I guess sometimes when it comes to the acting world, part of me really loves relinquishing that control and trusting that I'm in good hands. So this now is going to be a challenge in trusting myself with everything and being confident in the decisions I make. So stay tuned.
Right. On a note, if you were giving advice to someone coming through the business or up and coming actor, what would you suggest they do, or how to give them advice about the industry?
Having better time management, having better boundaries, and knowing that there is so much in abundance. And if I'm anxious and waiting, then I will go out and create my own thing. And I really highly suggest that as well. Anyone who's coming up in the industry and is very green, get to know other roles. I was really fortunate to go to an acting college that taught me how to run a set. We took on roles as producers, ADs, lighting, boom operator, cinematographer, all of that. We took on those roles, and it helped me understand that there is no hierarchy on set. We're all working as one cognitive machine. And that just completely eliminated ego. But it also helped me appreciate other people's jobs and why they're so important, and just understand how things work a bit better. So I would really advise just sort of branching out and not getting that tunnel vision that, like, I must be an actor, I must do this, I must do that. Like, no, get a different perspective. Absolutely.
Right. Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you.